Pinag mo naman to. Okay. So guys, kahit na recorded tayo, actual lecture na to ha. So, okay. So for today's session, we are going to talk about resistance exercise. So this is a long topic. So hinati ko na lang siya into part 1 and part 2. Okay, so for today's lesson, you're going to learn about yung key elements to muscle performance and yung mga principles of resistance exercise and of course yung mga parameters. Okay? So, from our last topic, di ba, last topic natin would be range of motion exercise. Again, what is the primary goal or primary rationale of range of motion would be to maintain. Okay, the key word is to maintain ROM, to maintain joint integrity, to maintain muscle length, okay, to prevent yung mga tightness natin and contractures. Now, in resistance exercise, our primary goal here is to increase muscle performance. Okay, so basically to restore or to increase yung muscle impairment. Okay? So what are the key elements to muscle performance? Okay, so pag sinabi natin muscle performance, it is the capacity of a muscle to do work. Okay? It is influenced by all of the body systems. Basically, for you to function normally, okay, at a normal level, all of the body systems should be normal. Okay? For example, yung metabolic natin, your respiratory, your cardiovascular, any impairments of those, okay, you will have muscle impairments in muscle performance. Okay? For a person to anticipate, respond to, and control the forces of life to the body, and carry out the physical demands of everyday life in a safe and efficient manner, the body's muscles must be able to produce muscle contraction or to produce tension, sustain and regulate muscle tension to meet these demands. No? For you to do your ADLs, no? For you to walk, for you to sit down, for you to run, jump, play whatever sport you want, kailangan ng muscle performance. Okay, kailangan normal yan. Kailangan mag-produce, kailangan mag-maintain, and mag-regulate na muscle tension. Okay, so what are the key elements of muscle performance? So we have 3. We have strength, power, and endurance. Okay, so let us differentiate kasi medyo tricky. Narinig natin yung mga words na muscle strength, muscle power, then muscle endurance. Now, under your muscle strength, now we have 2 types. Okay, we have muscle strength and your functional strength. Okay, yung muscle strength natin is the ability of the contractile tissue to produce tension and a resultant force based on the demands placed on the muscle. Okay, yun yung simplest form niya. Basically, pag kinontract mo yung muscle mo, it produces tension on the muscle. Okay, that is muscle strength. Now, your functional strength naman is the ability, take note of this, of the neuromuscular. Okay? So it's not purely the muscle. Okay, may participation na ating nervous system to produce, reduce, or control forces during functional activities in a smooth, coordinated manner. Okay, so for you, okay, to execute your ADLs, no, you need functional strength. You need participation of the neuromuscular system. Okay, so your nervous system and your muscular system. Okay, yun ang difference na muscle strength sa functional strength. Muscle strength purely, okay, yung tension produced by the muscle. Functional strength, cooperation of the nervous system and the muscular system. Okay, so how would you improve the strength of the patient? Through strength training. Now, strength training is a systematic procedure of a muscle or muscle group lifting, lowering, or controlling heavy loads for a relatively low number of repetitions over a short period of time. So, if you want to increase the strength, okay, of the patient, ang intensity natin, moderate to vigorous intensity, tapos ang repetitions natin, mababa lang. Okay, kasi we're focusing on the strength in patient. Okay. So, what is power naman? Okay? Muscle power. Power is defined as the work. Diba? In your physics, work is defined as force times distance. Okay? Produced by a muscle per unit of time is the rate of performing work. Okay? So, any work, basically, if you produce force, okay, kunyari, ito, pick up mo yung remote, okay, you produce force to pick up the remote, tapos, you move or you lifted the remote up, that's already work. Kasi may distance na component na. Okay, so, ginamit mo yung force. Okay? Ayan, so there are two types of power. We have anaerobic power and aerobic power. Okay? Kasi ito yung mga energy systems sa katawan natin. Simply put that, if the activity takes more than 2 minutes, you are already using your aerobic power. Okay, for example, if I were to ask you, what type of energy system does jogging use? Anaerobic or aerobic? Aerobic. What about powerlifting? Anaerobic. Okay? Ibig sabihin na aerobic meaning pertaining to oxygen. Okay, so it uses oxygen as an energy source. No? As long as oxygen is available, you can execute that task or you can produce muscle contraction. Anaerobic, gamit natin dyan usually you have your glycogen or yung glucose natin, mga energy stores natin. Okay, so ito yung mga ginagamit natin for shorter periods of time. Okay, pag nag-lift ka ng object, no, it only takes a second, hindi naman kailangan gumamit na oxygen to produce the emotion. Right? So, because work can be produced over a very brief or an extended period of time, power can be expressed by either a single burst of high-intensity activities such as lifting a heavy piece of luggage onto an overhead rack or performing a high jump, or by repeated bursts of less intense muscle activities such as climbing a flight of stairs. Okay, so if you want to train power, power can be enhanced by increasing the work a muscle must perform during a specified period of time. For example, you assess the patient, kaya niya mag-jump 10 times in 5 seconds. Okay? You would increase the work the muscle must perform. Ibig sabihin, in 5 seconds, kailangan mag-jump ka 15 times. Okay, so that will improve the power of the patient. Kasi, no, mas madaming yung napoproduce niyang jumps or yung power na napoproduce niya in a short period of time. No? So, reducing the amount of time required to produce a given force. Or kung sabi ko kanina, example, di ba? In-alter mo yung number of repetitions. You can also alter the duration or yung frequency. Sabihin natin 10 jumps in 3 seconds instead of 5 seconds. So, mag-i-increase ang power ni patient. Okay? Next, we have endurance. No? So, endurance is the ability to perform low-intensity, repetitive, sustained activities over a prolonged period of time. So, meron tayong cardiopulmonary endurance and your muscle endurance. So, basically, your cardiopulmonary endurance, in simple terms, it can be described as your total body endurance. Okay? Kapag how much time can you last running or jogging, di ba? Sa mga marathon, di ba? That's your total body endurance. Your muscle endurance, this is the muscle's ability to resist fatigue. So, yung locally lang. For example, your biceps, di ba? How many times can you lift a 20 kilogram weight using your left upper extremity or using your left bicep? Okay, so that's local fatigue or your muscle endurance. Okay, yun ang pinagkaiba niya, cardiopulmonary versus your muscle. Now, so how would you improve endurance? No? Through endurance training. Now, the key elements of endurance training are low-intensity muscle contractions, a large number of repetitions, and a prolonged period of time. Okay, if you want to focus on strength, you increase the intensity. If you want to focus on power, you alter the time or the number of repetitions in a given period of time. If you want to train endurance, you alter the time with low intensity exercise. Mas matagal, much better. Or you have to, you challenge the patient, diba? You increase the time, okay, na for the exercise. For example, sa cycling, ang cycle ergometer natin, diba? So sabi natin from 30 minutes, you progress to 45 minutes, then down to 1 hour. Okay? Yeah. So, unlike strength training, muscles adapt to endurance training but increases in their oxidative and metabolic capacities, which allows better delivery and use of oxygen. So, yung endurance natin ay, kumbaga longer term compared to aerobic system ang gamit natin. So, ang changes na makikita natin for endurance training would be the ability of the muscle o yung oxygen uptake nila. So, nai-increase yun, mas nagiging efficient. Okay? Yung pag-pull nila ng oxygen or paggamit nila ng oxygen. Okay, from the blood. Okay? So, no. The three elements of muscle performance, strength, power, and endurance can be enhanced by some form of resistance exercise. Okay, so that is the goal of your resistance exercise. Okay, to increase strength, power, and endurance. Sir, paano po yung focus namin? Ano yung nagiging focus namin? Strength, power, or endurance? Sa tingin nyo, ano dapat? Normally, for your convalescing patients, no, for patients of rehabilitation medicine, what should you prioritize? Strength, power, or endurance? Endurance. So you have different answers, di ba? So the answer would be a balance of the three. Okay, di ba? Rarely in your daily lives, our tasks requires purely for strength, purely for power, purely for endurance. Hindi naman gano'n. Diba? You should have a balance. Okay, so, mag-ano na yan. So, normally, ano yan, yung mga simulation activities na, functional activities, no, mimicking na. Okay, no? Ginagawa niya sa everyday life. Okay, so, balance yan. Now, sa mga athletes, doon pa ngayon mag-focus. Okay, mga power lifters, di ba? So, no need to build endurance ng muscle nila kasi yung competition nila, di ba? Pag maglilift sila ng weight, power and strength lang for a few seconds lang naman nila kailangan yun. So, no need to build that endurance. Okay? Yeah, so, depende. Okay, mga cyclists, okay, mga marathon runners, sa endurance sila. Okay? Basketball players, ano sa tingin nyo? Basketball, volleyball? More on balance. Okay, pero compared naman sa marathon or running or cycling, mas endurance yung compared sa basketball. Okay, sa basketball and volleyball, diba? Jumping activities, so kailangan na power. Okay, kailangan ng power. Okay? So, what is resistance exercise? Ito yung topic natin. Now, resistance exercise or resistance training is any form of active exercise in which a dynamic or static muscle contraction is resisted by an outside force. So, any outside force then, it can be applied manually, right? By the therapists or by equipments. Okay, yung mga machines natin, yung mga weights natin. Yung mga dumbbell, barbells, no? Yung mga resistance band natin, natin. Okay, so we will buy resistance band so we can use it sa laboratory natin. Okay? Yeah, so what are the principles of resistance exercise? So, ano yung mga principles that we should consider when we prescribe our resistance training? No? Ito siya, no? You have your overload, your set, and your reversibility principle. Right? First, we have your overload principle. Now, if muscle performance is to improve, a load that exceeds the metabolic capacity of the muscle must be applied. Simply stated, if muscle performance is to, that is, the muscle must be challenged to perform at a level greater than that to which it is accustomed. If the demands remain constant after the muscle has adapted, the level of muscle performance can be maintained but not increased. So, in short, you challenge the patient. For example, binigyan mo siya ng 2-pound weight, kaya niya, okay? All day, kaya niya hindi na papagod. So, nothing will happen to the muscle. Okay, kasi hindi siya na-challenge, no? So, overload ka, you are overloading. No? This is an extension of Wolff's Law. Diba? Maalala niyo yung Wolff's Law. So, for you to initiate a change in the muscle, kailangan mabigat yung ibibigay mo sa kanya. Yung hindi siya normal or hindi siya sanay dun sa bigat. Tapos, okay ba? Paprop na adaptation yun sa muscle niya physiologically. Okay, mag-increase yung mag-increase yung size ng muscle, yung blood supply, mas efficient, okay, yung pag-recruitment ng motor units, no? Mas okay. Then mas mag-i-improve yung performance. Okay? So, how do you use the overload principle? Manipulate either the intensity or the volume, depending on what your goal is. Kapag intensity, mas mataas, okay, more on power and strength. Volume, rep set, and frequency, more on endurance. Okay? Basically, you just challenge the patient. If the patient can run 10 minutes non-stop without even catching his breath, mas tagalan mo yung time. Okay, sabi natin 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Sabi mo, hiningan na siya. Okay, so mas na-challenge. Okay? Yeah. Next, we have the SAID principle or your specific adaptation to impose demands. Now, this is a framework of specificity. Framework of specificity is a necessary foundation on which exercise programs should be built. Helps therapists determine the exercise prescription and which parameters of exercise should be selected to create specific training effects that best meet specific functional needs and goals. Okay, ang sinasabi dito, the adaptive effects of training are highly specific to the training method employed. Exercise incorporated in a program should mimic the anticipated function. For example, you have an athlete na cyclist, ang training mo sa kanya would be for endurance and specifically cycling. Okay? Kung ano yung specific. Kung may basketball player, agility training, plyometric training, specific doon sa needs niya. Okay? For example, may pumunta sa'yo na cyclist tapos nagpa-powerlifting ka, anong benefit niya doon sa, na makukuha niya doon sa, sa pinapagawa mo sa kanya. So, dapat specific. Okay? Ayan, in SAID principle, you should also consider the mode, okay, the type of exercise, the velocity, patient or limb position, and movement pattern. Kung hindi naman sa athlete to, more on doon sa task na gusto niyang gawin. Ano ba yung nahihirapan siya? May difficulty ba in walking? May difficulty in feeding ba? So you mimic, okay, specifically yung activity para may carry over na training. Now, for example, if the desired functional outcome is the ability to ascend and descend stairs, exercise should be performed eccentrically and concentrically in a weight-bearing pattern and progress to the desired speed. Okay? So, ang activity, okay, or ang mode natin would be ascending and descending stairs. So, that's a combination already of concentric and eccentric muscle contractions. Diba? Kapag paakyat, more on concentric. Kapag pababa, more on eccentric. Okay, so dapat iti-train mo siya in that aspect. Tapos, walking di ba? Descending yan Dapat weight bearing. Okay, hindi ka mapapa-open chain exercises, yung mga hamstrings curls, okay, mga leg extensions and flexions, mga ganun. So dapat, weight bearing exercise natin. Kasi sinasabi or minimik mo yung demands na kailangan mo Next, okay? Next, transfer of training. Sir, kasi sabi nyo lang dapat specific. Okay? Meron naman din transfer of training. Now, transfer of training, overflow, or cross-training, no? Carry over of training effects from one variation of exercise or task to another has also been reported. Okay, hindi ibig sabihin na totally wala namang benefit. For example, si cyclist, okay, na-injure, sumempla, fracture of the femur. Hindi mo siya mapapatrain ng endurance training sa bike agad. Okay? So, anong gawin mo? Mag-hydrotherapy ka muna, mag-endurance training ka sa swimming pool. Okay, sa pool ka muna para non-weight bearing, di ba? So, nabibuild mo rin yung endurance niya doon. Hindi ibig sabihin, ay nabuild mong endurance doon, pang swimming lang. Okay, kasi basically, may carry over naman yan. Okay? Pero, syempre, to a small degree. Okay, if you want to specifically improve talaga, specific talaga dapat yung exercise natin. Right? So, ano naman yung reversibility principle? No. Adaptive changes in response to a resistance exercise program are transient, okay, or they are temporary. Unless improvements are regularly used, patient participates in a maintenance program. Ito yung sinasabi, use it or lose it. Okay, so if you train, malay ka ng katawan, then you stop, eventually, babalik ako sa kanal, simula. Okay? Retraining begins within a week or two after the cessation of resistance exercises and continues until training effects are lost. Okay? So basically, you need to maintain. Okay? So, kapag maintain naman yan, okay, kunyari na-achieve mo na yung desired na level or intensity ng exercise, sabihin natin 20 kilograms, no? Para ma-maintain mo yan, stay ka lang sa 20 kilograms. Hindi na mag-increase yung strength mo. If you want to increase your strength, magdagdag ka na weight. Pero if you want to maintain, dito ka lang. Okay? Pag tumigil ka, ngayon lang, 1 week pa lang, nababawasan na yan. Okay, usually, ang una dyan, yung nervous system, yung mga motor unit recruitment. Yung nauna dyan, di ba? Hindi naman agad yan makikita mo, liliit agad yung muscle. Hindi naman yan. Okay? So, what are the physiological, before we move on, do you have any questions? Okay. So, what are the physiological adaptations to resistance in exercise? Basically, what happens to your body or to your client's or patient's body kapag ikaw ay nagpa-resistance exercise? No? First, strength adaptations to the muscle, to the muscle itself, the endurance training adaptation. Ayan. In strength training, meron hypertrophy of muscle fibers and hyperplasia of the muscle fibers. Ibig sabihin ng hypertrophy, hypertrophy, lumalaki. Okay, diba? Atrophy, liit. Hypertrophy, lumalaki siya. Hyperplasia, increase in the number of muscle fibers. Okay? Ayan siya. Pero ang nangyayari daw dyan, if you read your case na, nangyayari daw dyan, nagkakaroon ng splitting. Okay, nagkakaroon ng splitting ng individual muscle fiber. Kaya mukha siyang lumala. Okay? For endurance training, hypertrophy, minimal or no change. Meaning, hindi lalaki yung katawan mo kapag ikaw ay jogging na ng jogging. Okay? Takbo ka lang ng takbo, fight ka lang ng fight. Okay? Minimal or no change. Okay? May improvements talaga sa muscle tone. Okay? Siyempre, nababurn yung fat mo, mas nagiging obvious yung muscle mo. Pero in terms of gusto mo magpalaki ng katawan, strength training. Okay? So, for motor unit recruitment and rate of firing synchronization, strength training, increase number of motor units firing. Ano ba yung motor units? Ito yung mga nerves, yung mga connection, okay, ng nervous system mo to the muscle. Hindi lang naman isa yun. Pagdating ng nerve doon, di ba, i-innervate yung muscle, marami yun. Okay? So, may neural adaptation yan. So, yung recruitment ng motor, yung strength na gain mo in the first few weeks of resistance training, hindi siya directly related dun sa paglaki ng muscle. Kasi hindi mo natin tumalaki yan, di ba? Related siya dun sa improvement ng motor unit recruitment, rate of firing, and synchronization of firing. Ibig sabihin, mas maganda yung pag-recruit, okay, ng mga muscle fibers when you are doing the activity. Okay? Yeah. So for lean body mass and percentage of body fat, in strength training, increase ang lean body mass mo. Endurance training, no change. Body fat, parehas ka naman papayat. Okay? So, ipag-overwhelm ko sila. In strength training, di ba, recommended ni Harvard, di ba? Harvard University, may 150 minutes of aerobic training, tapos may twice a week ka, at least twice a week of strength training. Yeah. So what happens to connective tissue? Okay, sa strength training, mas itibay siya, sa endurance din naman. Bone mineral density will increase, and sa endurance, mineralization of weight, with weight-bearing activities. Okay, yung mga running and jogging natin. Kapag cycling, hindi siya, or swimming, hindi siya weight-bearing. So hindi masyadong mag-increase yung bone density. Okay? So it's already 1:30, I think, hanggang dito na lang para 30 half-day. Okay? Pero basically, kasi yung next part would be that determinants of resistance exercise program. Okay? So, next meeting on Friday, lecture natin would be the continuation of this. But before we start the lecture, we'll be having a quiz on that last topic. Okay? So after nito, after na meeting namin, wala na tayo. Wala na tayo lang. Okay? Thank you. Kasama ko yan sa kami. Sa ito pumipigil sa amin. Malabas din puti ng mata niya. By the way, kung ayaw yung slide, hister. Copy-paste yan sa hister. Literal. Siyempre, ito yung primary reference natin.